everyone, welcome back to my channel. Miss Crochet and Coffee here, and today we will be learning a new stitch for Whip It Up Wednesday. Today's stitch is going to be the waistcoat stitch. The waistcoat stitch is also known as the knit stitch. So I am a crocheter through and through, have been for the longest time, and I've always admired those who could knit. Me, I can do a basic knit. Other than that, you lost me. So I found a pattern, actually I found a stitch that looks and resembles a knit stitch, but it's crocheted. And I was showing it to a couple of my subscribers yesterday, and they asked me would I do a tutorial. So that's what you're getting today. You're going to get a tutorial on how to do the knit stitch, and as you can see, those stitches are nice and tight and together. There's no gaping or holes or anything, just like in knitting. So I decided I would go ahead and show you guys how to create that pattern. So what I did is I got a 6.5 millimeter hook. Sorry. So it's my K hook. And I have Red Heart with Love yarn. And we're going to go ahead and show you how to work this stitch today. So of course, as always, we are going to work a slip stitch. And for those of you who don't know how to work a slip stitch, all I do is I put it over my thumb and I twist my thumb around to make an X. Then I put my finger in as pinchers. I grab the working end. You don't want to grab the tail end, you want to grab the working end, and then you just pull the tail down to tighten. And I believe I do have some kind of a tutorial on how to do that. But one more time, you got your tail end here. You got your working end, which is, the working end is the end that comes from the yarn. You twist your thumb around to make the X. You insert your pointer finger. You pinch that working end to bring it through, and then you pull that tail nice and tight. That will give you a slip stitch. And then you just insert your hook. Now this stitch works best with a loose tension because you have to go inside of the stitches, so you want to make sure your stitches are going to be loose. You don't want them very tight, and you'll find out why. Now this stitch can be worked in any increment of numbers. So if you want to do a blanket, if you want to do a cowl or a scarf or anything like that, you can use any denomination of numbers. So what we're going to do today, we're going to do 14. So we're going to chain 14. And again, you don't want to do it tight. You want to do it loose. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then we're going to do one more for a turn, so 15. So we have 15 chains that we've made. If you need to take a second to pause the video, please feel free to do so. I'll be right here when you get back. If you would like to continue on, let's just go. Alright, so you did that extra stitch so that when you do your turn, you can go into the second stitch from the hook. So you're not going to go into this first one, you're going to go into the second one. That first one is going to be your turning chain. So you're going to single crochet into each stitch the whole way down. So you should end up with 14 single crochets. And if you don't remember how to do a single crochet, that's perfectly fine. I'll show you. We're going to zoom you in a little bit here so you can get all up in here to figure out what we're doing. So then what you're going to do, again, you're going to go into that second chain right there. So you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull that through. And again, do not make it tight. What I do actually for this stitch is I lift it up a little bit. And then you yarn over again and pull through. You want your stitches to be very loose because you have to work into those stitches and you don't want to have to sit here and struggle to get through them. And this stitch is just so easy. I was like, I want to make like a sweater or a vest out of it for my little girl. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to design one because I haven't seen one. I'm going to design one and see how it goes. So far, so good. But this stitch is a very easy stitch. It only has like, essentially it's just a repeat. So after you do your base chain, which is what we're doing now, I'll show you how to execute this stitch. And remember, these are supposed to be loose, not tight, and you'll see why. So we're just going to continue to single crochet the whole way down to the end of our chain. Very simple. And as long as you know how to do a single crochet stitch, you should do this just fine. So we're going to continue to single crochet the whole way down until we get to the last stitch on our chain. Alright, so then you should have something that looks like this. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1. And a lot of people say that this stitch only looks like a knit stitch if you do it in the round, or it looks better in the round. I can show you both ways. So I'm going to show you this way first, and then we'll pause, take a little break, let you get your thoughts together, and then we'll try it in the round. So what we do next is we did our chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work. Alright, so this stitch is a little bit different than your regular everyday stitch, where most stitches are worked into the top underneath the V of your stitch. This one is actually worked into the post of your stitch. So you're going to find your post. So my post is right here. We're going to go in between those posts, and you want to make sure you get in between the front and the back post. And you're going to single crochet. Let's try that one more time. Actually, we're going to try that a few more times. So you find your post, which is right here. You're going to insert your hook. And this is again why you don't want your stitches to be too tight. In between the two posts, you're going to do your single crochet. So we're going to find our next post. We're going to go in between those posts. We're going to single crochet. And we're going to do this the whole way down. And if it's a little tight, you know, you wiggle your crochet hook until you get it in between the posts. Again, you want it in between the posts, not underneath the V. Because if putting it underneath the V will not get you the desired stitch you're looking for. So you want to make sure you go in between those posts. And it might be hard to see on this first round, but the second round should make it a little bit easier for you. Do remember not to do it super tight. If you need to take a second to pause to make sure that you're doing it correctly, feel free to do so. If not, we're going to continue on all the way down this chain until we get to the bottom here. Oh, that was in the V. And you just want to make sure those stitches are nice and loose. And don't worry, making sure your stitches are nice and loose will not create a very, it's not going to create a pattern where there's a bunch of gaps and holes. It's just to help you get in between those posts whenever you go for your next round. So we have 2 more. So again, you just want to find those posts, go in there, single crochet, loosen those stitches in between the posts, pull it out. Alright, and now we're at the end here, and we're just going to turn and chain 1. That was the first round, and your stitches should look like this. So let's do one more round like this. Now essentially this pattern just repeats itself. So you're just going to do the same thing over and over and over, and what you're going to get is something that looks like this. It's going to look knitted, it's going to look nice and tight together, It's not going to leave you any gaps or holes like most traditional crochet stitches do. So let's move on to the second round. I'm sorry, the third round. So what we're going to do, we did that chain 1. And again, on this side, you should see a little bit better. Your upside down V right here is where you're wanting to go. So you're going to go inside that V, and it should bring you out on the other side. Yarn over and pull through. Pull that loop up a little bit to give you some, make sure your tension isn't too tight, I should say. So we're going to go in between those posts. Again, you don't want to go in the V. You don't want to go in here. You're going in between the posts. So in between each and every one of those posts. And don't worry, you should still have 14 stitches. So you just continue on through those posts. The whole way down. And again, you want to make sure the stitches are nice and loose, nothing too tight. If you're making a particular project, I would suggest going up a hook size, depending on what you're making, just to give yourself that little bit of extra. Because you're going to want that extra space because this is a tighter stitch. So because it's tight, it will contract so that it makes things a lot neater and more uniform. So I would suggest going up a hook size. Again, we're going to go right here. So, hold on. So right there is where you're going. So you're going to go in between there. Now, most people would go in there, which is right underneath those V's. That's not where you want to go. You want to go in between the posts. So you're going to go in between those posts to come out on the other side. You're going to yarn over. You're going to pull that through, yarn over, pull through. And don't worry, your tension being loose, again, is just so it makes it easier for you to get through those posts. Believe me, you don't want to try to get through them while you tighten them. It is a pain, and it takes forever. So make sure those posts are nice and loose. And again, we've gotten to the end, and what we're going to do is we're going to stick that in there so we can count our stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we still have our 14 stitches. And I just stuck it in there so I didn't lose my place. All right, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to slip stitch in there. And then we're going to turn our work and chain 1. This keeps it all nice and uniform. And we're going to do this one more row. So again, you're going to take and go in between the post here. So you're going to go inside of there. Inside, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. We're going to do that the whole way down. So you find your next post. And you got to watch also, because if you're not paying attention, you might go in between the stitches instead of in between the posts. And of course, that's not what you want. That's not going to give you the desired look you're looking for. So you want to make sure you're going in between those posts each and every time. So we're going to go in between each post. All the way down to the end. Hopefully this is working out well for you. Feel free to do this at your own pace. You don't have to go as fast as I'm going. You're learning, so it's going to take you a little bit to get it, which is okay. We all start somewhere. And then we're just going to slip stitch into this last one, just to even out those edges. And there you have it. You have the waistcoat stitch, or better known as the knit stitch. If you would like to pause the video here and continue practicing that stitch, please feel free to go ahead. We're going to take a quick little intermission. I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to do that in the round. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So now we're going to do the waistcoat stitch in the round. A lot of people will say that this stitch looks best in the round, and I've only done it in the round because of what I was currently making, and it looked pretty good to me. So let's try teaching you how to do it in the round. Very easy. So again, we're going to slip stitch, which we get it on our thumb. Just twist your thumb around, make that X. Insert your pointer finger. Grab that working yarn. Pull the tail. We're going to tighten that loop a little bit. And again, we're going to do a chain of 14 with an extra chain of 15 to make it 15 for our round. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're going to do 15. Now, we're not having to turn our work or anything, but we are going to slip stitch and make sure that chain is not twisted. We are going to slip stitch into this last stitch here. And when you do the slip stitch for this stitch in the round, you want to make sure that slip stitch is pulled nice and tight. That's going to be the only thing tight on these stitches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet the whole way around like we did with our first one. So we're going to go insert, make sure the stitches are nice and loose. We're just going to single crochet all the way around. And 15. All right, and then when we get back to the beginning, we are going to do a normal slip stitch into the first stitch. So you're going to pull that through, and again, you're going to make sure this is nice and tight. And then we're going to chain 1. And again, you're going to find out where your posts are. So again, you're not going into the V, you're going into the post right here. So you see the post? We're just going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull it through, draw it up a little bit, and then single crochet. And again, we're going to do that the whole way down. So insert, yarn over, pull through, find the next one. And if you need to, sometimes what I like to do is I like to pull the stitches apart so I can tell, because again, you don't want to go in between the two to get to that V. You want that post. So I will pull it apart so I can make sure I'm getting into the post. And if your stitches are loose, it should show you the post no problem. So you're going to single crochet. And you're just going to do this the whole way around. just like we did before. I found this stitch and thought it was very easy, something mindless that I could do and make something cute out of, and it looks knitted. And if you're like me, I can knit and do the basics of knitting, but I can't get into all the fancy stuff and, you know, more than one needle. So I'm always on the lookout for stitches in crochet that are going to give me that desired knit look. And when I found this one a couple of days ago, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I have to try this. And I've been working on that sweater for a couple of days now, and I have to say I'm pretty happy with the way it's turning out. So yeah, I, you know, absolutely love this. Hopefully you will learn how to do this as well from this tutorial, and this will be one of your new favorite stitches, because I know it definitely is one of mine. So let's finish going all the way around. And then again, we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch, pull that nice and tight, and pulling that slip stitch nice and tight, oh, and we're going to chain one. Pulling that stitch nice and tight will give you a seam, like, oh, not that side. This is where my seam is. It's almost undetectable, minus the fact that I changed colors, and I didn't pull this stitch really tight. There we go. So here's my seam. It is a little crooked, but again, this is me learning it myself, so now it's starting to straighten itself back up. But it's almost undetectable to the naked eye, so you want to make sure you pull that slip stitch nice and tight before moving on to the next round, and then we're going to chain one. And so far, if you look, this is what it should look like. Get the tail out of there. Kind of looks like a little donut. So now that you've done your chain one, we again are going to go through the post of each stitch, making sure our single crochets are nice and loose. Making sure not to skip a post. We're just going to go the whole way around. And I think with this stitch you can make just about anything, cup cozies or sweaters or maybe even booties. It just gives you that nice locked look in stitches that most crocheters and knitters are looking for. Something that's going to keep you warm, especially in these cold weather months. I don't know if you were affected by the polar vortex, but it feels like it's always some kind of polar vortex where I live. So it's nice to have something nice and warm to bundle up in. So this would be a great stitch for, you know, making something for those ones that you care about keeping warm during this chilly of seasons. We're just gonna go all the way around. Last one. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top. Then again, if you need to take a break, pause the video, please feel free to do so. Come back to it at a later time. I think you can do this stitch with just about any yarn. I would just, again, make sure that when you're doing it, that you're going up a stitch instead of staying, or I'm sorry, not up a stitch, up a crochet hook, because the pattern will get tight because of the way it looks. And there you go. It's a little tiny knit stitch. And I think you have the gist of it from there. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them down in the comment section below. If not, that's it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions, also put those down in the comment section below. As for me, that's it, and I'll see you guys in my next one. As always, be kind, be courteous, be cool. Bye, guys.